move on. Are you relaxed if it's in the communiqué, though, or do you not want it in the communiqué? Because it looks like it's going in the communiqué, some sort of discussion about
it.
Well,
let's see. The communiqué is being discussed at the moment. We'll see what it contains in due course. But I'm just clear in my mind that, yes, we must acknowledge history and absolutely recognise the abhorrence of the slave trade.
This is absolutely insane. Beth Rigby snagged an interview with Keir Starmer and hit him with some of the toughest questions out there. Watching her go all in on Starmer, dismantling every excuse he came up with, was beyond satisfying. This was a showdown you don't want to miss. Let's dive right in and break down every intense moment.
There are 55 Commonwealth countries here represented. It's a meeting that takes place every other year, and there's a lot of conversation going on. Reparations is one of the conversations, of course, but there are conversations about resilience and climate, because for many countries, particularly some of the island countries, that's a very real threat.
They want to put it into the communiqué. Are you prepared to do that?
We're also talking about trade. The combined GDP of the countries represented here is the best part of $20 trillion. On the question of reparations, obviously, it's very important for me to say and to recognise that the slave trade and practice was abhorrent, and that is history. We can't change our history, and we should start from that place. But the question now at this conference is, do we want to focus more on the challenges now, which to my mind are resilience and the climate challenge, and the opportunity of trade, or look backwards? And I say we should look forward.
Okay.
But look, that's there's a conversation going on here, quite right.
And you know, maybe he is a liar, but I still respect him for the fact that he agreed to this interview while he knew damn well that he's going to get absolutely hammered by the worst of what God prepared for him based on what he knows about Rigby. Let's start with one of the most important questions.
Your career as a lawyer and your pitch as a politician has always been about justice and doing the right thing. Don't you think that approach, if the other Commonwealth leaders want to put it in the communiqué, put it on the table, is a bit arrogant and dismissive to say, I don't want to talk about it?
Beth Rigby takes a direct and almost challenging approach, questioning Starmer's stance on reparations within the Commonwealth dialogue. She brings his career in law and reputation as a justice-focused politician into the spotlight, emphasizing that his commitment to doing the right thing could seem at odds with his refusal to prioritize reparations in the Commonwealth's discussions. The pointed question, don't you think that approach is a bit arrogant and dismissive to say, I don't want to talk about it, adds an edge, implying that his position might come across as disregarding the concerns of other leaders, even if it's unintentional. Her choice of words, especially arrogant and dismissive, conveys a tone that invites Starmer to self-reflect on his stance, almost urging him to see how this might be perceived by those championing reparations.
Well, first thing I'd say is there are 55 countries represented here. There is no one view amongst all 55. There are many different and varied views, and you'd expect that. There are 55 delegations. I've had quite a number of discussions since I've been here. Actually more about trade and opportunities, more about resilience and trade. Because for many countries...
I've got to move on. Are you relaxed if it's in the communiqué, though, or do you not want it in the communiqué? Because it looks like it's going in the communiqué, some sort of discussion about it.
Well, let's see. The communiqué is being discussed at the moment. We'll see what it contains in due course. But I'm just clear in my mind that, yes, we must acknowledge history and absolutely recognise the abhorrence of the slave trade. And that's very important. But at the same time, we have to answer the question, which is being put to me, which is, how can you help us with resilience now? Because we've got, a flood problem that's measured in years, not decades, and we need to deal with it.
Because I haven't got long.
Back in August, when you spoke in the Downing Street Garden, you mentioned that some painful choices would be necessary in the upcoming budget. Many people took this as a hint that tax increases might be on the way, even though you didn't directly say it. Could you clarify for us now? Are you planning to raise taxes?
The budget will be set out by the Chancellor on the 30th.
The principle of it.
But what I was talking about when I was speaking at Downing Street, and what I've said ever since, is this. We've inherited a very bad situation here. The economy is broken, and we've discovered there's a £22 billion black hole. My approach, the Chancellor's approach, is to acknowledge that problem, run towards it and fix it.
Yes, a
so
tax
that we
is
can
going
fix
up.
the foundations.
Our tax
and
is
on
going
that,
up beyond what you said in the
we will then
manifesto.
rebuild the country.
Our tax is going up.
That
beyond
will
what
be
you
set out in the manifesto.
The principle of it.
It'll be set out in the manifesto.
Well, you set it out in the manifesto. Tax is
I'm
going
sorry,
to
it'll be set out in the budget on Wednesday.
Is that the painful choice that taxes will be going up? You know, I'm not asking you to set out what they are, but just the principle of it.
Well, the principle we put in place is that there's a £22 billion black hole and we've got to
So taxes
fix
are
that.
going up?
Well, we're also clear that we're not returning to austerity.
You know, people will be watching this, and then when you put taxes up and you won't say in principle, yeah, look, they're going to have to go up and you'll get more detail.
I appreciate that, but
cool.
I appreciate that. But you know, and I know that no government before a budget
I'm not asking
sets out what's going to be in the budget.
I'm not asking you to. I'm asking you about the principle. You said to me in Grimsby, all our plans are fully funded, fully costed, fully funded. We do not raise taxes on working people. No rises for income tax, national insurance, for VAT. That's still the case, but are other taxes going up?
I said that to you in Grimsby. I think I said it to you everywhere we met in the entire campaign.
But are other taxes
going up?
going
And I'll
up?
absolutely repeat that. For working people, we made an absolute commitment that their income tax wouldn't go up, their national insurance wouldn't go up, their VAT wouldn't go up. I said that in the campaign. We're going to keep to those promises.
But should we expect taxes more broadly to go up?
We're going to have to make difficult decisions in this budget. I'm not going to preempt the budget.
That's a yes.
You know that.
Okay.
Look, but what we are going to do, it's really important that we fix the foundations. We've got to clear up this mess once and for all. And then on that, we build a better Britain. And that we will set out, which is measured in people feeling better off, the NHS not just back on its feet, but actually fit for the future, and public services working in the way that people are entitled to see from their public services.
Here is the explanation, that is, Starmer addresses concerns about possible tax hikes due to a significant budget deficit. He acknowledges the government's tough financial situation and explains that while he and the Chancellor are committed to fixing the economy, details on taxes will only be in the official budget. He reaffirms his campaign pledge not to increase taxes like income tax, national insurance, or VAT for working people, but hints that tough choices lie ahead. Starmer emphasizes that, unlike past austerity approaches, they won't cut public services, aiming instead to create a stable foundation for rebuilding the country.
Prime Minister, are you a working person?
Well, I would define a working person as somebody who goes out and earns their living, usually paid in a sort of monthly cheque. But I think that's obviously very broad. So let me be clear. What I mean, or if you like, who I have in my mind's eye when I make decisions as Prime Minister, are the sorts of working people who go out, work hard, and maybe save a bit of money, but don't have the wherewithal to write a cheque to get out of difficulties if they and their family get into difficulties.
That definition.
That's who I have in my mind. People who've got that anxiety, if you like, in the bottom of their stomach that says, we're doing all right, but should something happen to me and my family, I haven't actually got the wherewithal to get out of that problem. So that's who I have mostly in mind.
Then she says, your definition is pretty broad. So who doesn't count as a working person in your view? And who exactly do you believe should be facing higher taxes?
Well, it is broad, I accept that. But when
broad?
No, but when I tell you who's in my mind's eye, which is, and I think everybody watching this will know, whether they're in this category, because you carry in that situation a sort of knot in the bottom of the stomach, which is, if push comes to shove and something happens to me and my family, I can't just get a checkbook out, even though I've maybe got a bit of saving. But they're the people that in a way, I came into politics to try and make sure they had secure jobs, didn't have the anxiety of public services not working, and felt genuinely better off with better opportunities. That's what I have in my mind's eye.
So for someone who works but gets their income from assets as well, such as shares of property, are they a working persons? Well,
they wouldn't come within my definition.
So their taxes could go up?
Yeah, I mean, you can probably give me any number of examples. You're tagging a second question to the first, which is you're asking me for a definition of who's a working person, and then you're making assumptions about what the tax might be in relation to.
The point is, we're running out of time, but I could go through fuel duty. If you're driving a van,
you could.
You're a working person and you might put fuel duty up.
You could go through that exercise, or you could ensure that people hear from me who I have in my mind's eye. People watching this will know whether they're in that group or not. Those people who work hard, are anxious about whether they can make ends meet, and know that should something happen to them and their family, they can't write a checkbook to get out of the problem. I am really concerned about them, and the decisions I make are because politics for me is about who do you have in your mind's eye when you make your decisions. I'm not ideological.
All right, let's cut to the chase here. Back in the day, Prime Minister, you promised no tax hikes for working folks, right? But now, we've got fuel duties possibly hitting everyday drivers, council tax freezing, but still creeping up. And those same people you said you'd protect are the ones paying the price. So, level with us? Are you just saying what sounds good in speeches, then pulling a switch up on working families when it counts? People are watching, and you keep saying trust in politics is broken. But how can they trust you when it feels like just another political game?
Well, I made clear promises in the election campaign, and I intend to keep those promises. So let me be very clear about that. In relation to the other measures that may or may not be in the budget, as you know, they will be set out in full when the budget is unveiled by the Chancellor, and no government ever says in advance, for very obvious reasons, what's in the budget. It's very close now, so we will know the full details of it. What I can say is the principles that we're operating to are, we've got a problem here caused by the last government, we're going to fix it, and we're going to rebuild our country. And we've already started down that track. We got £63 billion worth of investment in just about 10 days ago. That is investment that will be measured in jobs across the country.
Prime Minister, one last question if I may. The Trump team just filed a complaint, accusing the Labor Party of meddling in the U.S. election. Pretty bold claim, wouldn't you say? You're clear that Labor hasn't broken any rules, but let's be real. Are you frustrated that a potential future U.S. president and his team are stirring the pot with you over baseless accusations? Is this just another political drama, or is there more to it?
Look, I think we should put this in perspective. I've met President Trump just a few weeks ago in New York. We had dinner together for 2 hours or so. He made a considerable effort to get to that dinner, for which I was very grateful. We both wanted to make sure that we got to know each other, created a good relationship. We both understand that the special relationship between the UK and the US was forged in difficult circumstances historically, but matters as much today. And of course, I will work with whoever the president is that's elected by the American people in just a few days' time.
So
the fact that a few Labour volunteers went in this election, as they've done in every election, as party activists have done, from all different political parties in pretty well every election that's gone on year after year after year, that needs to be put in its proper perspective.
So you're not going to even bother to raise it with him or his team? You're relaxed about it?
No, I've got a good relationship with President Trump, and I think the importance of the relationship between our two countries is very, very significant, and I will work with whoever's elected in by the American people.
Okay, Prime Minister, thank you very much.
Thank you.
That was a fantastic interview. He got called out multiple times and was caught red-handed, but he managed it really well. Hopefully, things work out in the end. That's a wrap for today's video. If you're up for more content, click on the pop-up on screen for 50 years of good luck, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.